Good evening, good evening. I just want to welcome you guys back to the Conversation 9-8. Again, happy to be back on um, uh, tonight. Definitely won't be on here before you guys long, but I wanted to jump on here real quick and just have a conversation with you guys tonight. I'm happy to be on, and I'm looking forward to uh, doing the things that we need to do. I know we starting out with some technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on, but hey, we're gonna do what we got to do. But hopefully, man, all will work out, all is well, and I'm just happy, um, happy to be on here. But again, man, thank you guys so much for rocking with your boy. It really does mean a lot, and I'm truly thankful for the continued support. Really am. Excuse me. But I hope all is well. I hope everything is going well with everybody. And wanted to jump on here tonight just to talk with you guys a little bit about a topic that I was just listening, just kind of listening to this week and kind of meditation and just thinking. I'm a thoughtful person. I'm always being thought. And the thing this popped up, and I wanted to talk about this because I felt this topic is one that is uh, very helpful. What's going on, Mom? How you doing? Good evening. Good evening to you. Uh, good evening to you. Got a lot going on today. But good evening. There you go. Good evening to you, Mama. Thank you so much. Thank you for your continued support. Really does mean a lot. But I just wanted to just say that, man, get right on. I'm gonna share this with a few more people. And then once I share this, I mean, we're gonna get right into it. But feel free to let me know where you're tuning in from, uh, and don't be afraid to interact. Don't be afraid to interact because I think this topic is a good topic to be able to have an open and honest discussion about. Because I feel a lot of times that is what is needed uh, in today's time. So again, thank you guys so much. What's going on, Leandrew? How you appreciate it, man. Hey, we got to pull this one out, man. We struggling a little bit right now, but we in it to win it. But again, man, I just want to thank you guys, and I want to tell you, it does mean a lot for the continued support. It does mean a lot. But with all that being said, we're gonna jump right into it, and what we're gonna talk about tonight is the only way you're going to get through it is if you choose to grow through it. And I just say that the only way you're going to get through it is if you choose to grow through it. And I say that because we go through a lot of stuff in life. Nobody is exempt from hardship. Nobody is exempt for hard time. No matter how good of a person you are, no matter how much good things you do, no matter how righteous you attempt to live your life, we are going to go through things. Things are going to happen to us. Things are going to happen to you that are going to be unfair. Things are going to happen to you that are going to be hurtful. Things are going to happen to you that's going to be disappointing. Things are going to happen that you're not going to have any control of it. But the key is how you're going to get through it is if you choose to grow through it. And the problem is many of us, we endure things, but we don't get through it. And in order to get through it, to continue to move through it, you have to make a conscious decision to say, hey, I'm going to grow through this situation. You know, the thing about it is we hear this saying and we hear people say this all the time. And I know we've heard people say this, but many of us, we heard people say, if we heard people say this saying, if it didn't kill you, it made you stronger. The problem with that is a very true statement. But the problem that you have with that is many times it doesn't make people stronger because they choose not to grow in it. They become familiar with it and they choose to stay in that place or whatever that place is, or that disappointment. They stay in that dysfunction. They stay in that trauma. They stay in that place and they begin to identify themselves by it. They begin to live in it and they choose not to grow through it. So what happens is they become functionally dysfunctional in that space because they, instead of them getting through it, they choose to stay in it. They choose not to grow through it. And by them choosing not to grow through it, that's a subconscious way to avoid dealing with it and addressing it. Because the only way you're going to get over something and get through something if you face it head on and if you're going to address it for what it is instead of just acknowledging it and avoiding it. You know, acknowledging it and avoid it. Because that's what many of us, if you sit down and think about it, that is what many of us do. We have done. There's nothing to do it, but it becomes a survival mechanism. But one thing we have to do is we have to realize that we are the ones that are responsible for it, right? And just because you acknowledge something, that an issue that you're dealing with, just because you acknowledge it and then you attempt to acknowledge it and then avoid it, that's not getting through it. You see what I'm saying? That's not getting through it. Yeah, you can, because a lot of us subconsciously, what we try to do, we try to suppress stuff. We try to push it down. Hey, I ain't gonna talk about it no more. I know this happened to me. Hey, I'm good. I'm gonna use my willpower and I'm just gonna just push through it, push through it, push through it. And then we continue to go on in life, but we aren't growing, we aren't getting over it. We're just really carrying it with us. We're carrying it with us, and we consider ourselves good as long as nobody triggers them. Nobody come and they hit our triggers on that trauma, hit our triggers on the things that we've been suppressing. As long as nobody do that, then we consider ourselves good. But we spend so much time, energy, and effort that we end up carrying that on us like a heavy burden on our back because we choose to carry it, and that's on us. We choose to carry it. And what we have to do is we have to realize that, hey, I can get through it. I can, you can, they said the only way you're going to get through it is if you choose to grow through it. Choosing to grow through a hardship situation is not fun. And it's not something that's going to be easily pursued, because naturally we avoid confrontation. And in order to grow through something, to get through something, in order to grow through it, you have to face it. And a lot of us, we feel like we don't like confrontation because we don't like being quote unquote confrontational. But it's not really about being confrontational. It's about making a conscious decision that, hey, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to make a commitment to deal with this so I can grow through it. So when I grow through it, what happens is I end up cutting that dead weight off, and I end up freeing myself from carrying burdens for a long time because I made a conscious decision that I am going to choose to grow through it. And I'm going to get through it. And by me choosing to grow through it, that means I'm going to face it. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to deal with the hardships. But at the end, I will win because I grew through it. Being honest with you, I grew through it. Hey, listen, if you're talking about peaks and valleys, and if you think about it, however you look at it, but many times if we're talking about the valleys of life, if you are in a mountain range or you're in a place where the geography is very mountainous region, you have your valleys, right? And you have the valleys, and then you have your mountaintops. But the thing what people don't talk about is that there's a lot that you learn in those valleys. But the problem is many of us choose to stay in those valleys. We choose to stay in those valleys because we feel like the trek up to the mountaintop is too much. Instead of looking at it saying, you know what, I'm going to get to the mountaintop, because at the mountaintop, there's some benefits at the mountaintop that I can really enjoy. But if I choose to stay in the valley, stay in that trauma, stay in that place of mediocrity, if I choose to stay there, I won't grow through it. I won't grow through it. And yeah, I can get through that valley. I can move and traverse through that valley and keep moving, but that doesn't mean that I'm growing. And in order to elevate, it's going to take you out of your comfort zone. It's going to have to take you out of your comfort zone. And that's a problem for a lot of us. The problem for a lot of us, I'm telling you, the problem for a lot of us is we don't want to come out of our comfort zone. That's why we just stay in stuff and choose, instead of getting through it and growing through it, we chose to stay in it because we want to operate in a comfort zone. But the reality is a lot of our comfort zones are really prisons for us. It keeps us in prison emotionally. It keeps us in prison in our mentality. It keeps us in prison from really enjoying the abundant life. Because a lot of us, we don't realize is that our destiny is tied to us making the decision to grow from the pain. Kirk Franklin said something. He said his pain was his preparation for his destiny. He went through a lot of stuff. But by him going through a lot of stuff, by him going through a lot of hardship and heartache and pain, he can write songs that can connect to people. But if he didn't choose to start processing some of that stuff and going through some of that stuff, then we would never enjoy him the way that we enjoy him now. And that's the God honest truth. And that's the sad truth of that. That's how many of us are. We choose not to grow. We choose to stay stagnant. And the reason why is, and I want us to really, really, really take this to heart, but The reason why many of us choose to stay stagnant is because we are imprisoned by fear. And that's the fear of the unknown, and the fear of the unknown of something better. Like we fear that, hey, I can be hurt worse if I choose to grow in this, if I choose to overcome this, I can be hurt worse. But the reality is, by staying in it, you're doing some irreconcilable damages to yourself and to those closest to you. You know, there are some people, man, we've been stuck in trauma, stuck with dealing with stuff for years, all because we have been too afraid to grow, to grow in it, to get through it, to grow through it. In order to get over it, you got to grow through it. You have to make that decision. You have to make that choice. You have to make that logical choice and commit to it to say, hey, whatever it's gonna come, whatever comes my way with this, I'm gonna make the decision to do better and overcome it, because guess what? I take control of it, and I'm not gonna allow this situation to have control over me. I'm not gonna allow this situation to have control over me. And I would tell you, it's not, and I'm not speaking from a space of, oh, well, you know, this is a book answer or whatever. No, I'm telling you the truth. And I'm going to share some things with you. I can remember vividly. I can vividly remember. I can remember when I came back from my second deployment, and I came back to a situation where I left, I was married, I came back, I was filed for divorce, becoming a single dad and all of this. And in that situation, I vividly remember sitting in the parking lot at a tire rim place in Augusta, Georgia, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going to forgive the other person, and I'm going to get through this." And I said, whatever it takes, I'm gonna get through it, because I don't want this to hinder me later on down the road. Now, I made that decision in 2007. Now, I want people to understand it took about 3.5 years before my heart caught up to my decision that I made, because it was a process. And that's why I say it's not like it's an easy thing, but that process started and I began that process. And because of that, I can truly say I've walked in forgiveness, and I'm free from whatever that was holding me down back then. And I'm not saying that as a braggadocious way. It wasn't an easy thing. I had my highs and my lows. I had my ups and my downs. There were some days I just felt like giving up. A lot of days I felt like giving up. But one thing I realized was, because I made a conscious decision to commit to it, then I was able to get through it. And we like to throw these slogans and throw these sayings, but that's a good one. You have to say, you have to make a conscious decision to get through it in order for you to grow through it. You have to make a conscious decision to get through it, not give up in it, not suppress it. You know, because a lot of us, we've done that. We've been carrying things and addressing things. That's how childhood trauma pass on to generation to generations, because we don't realize that silently we are creating an environment to where it is just conducive for that trauma to pass on to other generations. And yes, I understand it is not fair. It's not fair to you. You didn't cause it. But if you choose not to grow in it and grow through it and deal with it and grow through it and overcome it, then you're subjecting that to your generation that comes after you. You're subjecting that to those that come close, those that your offspring. All because we're afraid to. That's why we have to say, I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to address it. I'm going to deal with it. And I'm going to deal with me so that it's not going to hinder me and those that come after me. Hey, Ms. Geraldine, how you doing? Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. But man, I wanted to come on here today, and I wanted to just say, hey, just really talk about it, because the only way you're going to get through it is if you choose to grow through it. And the key thing is choice, you know, and I want people to understand that and not try to act like it's something, but regardless of what you think, it is your personal decision, your choice that it takes for you to choose to grow through something. It's your choice to choose to forgive. It's your choice to choose to overcome. It's your choice to choose to be made whole. Like, you have to make that decision. You have to make that decision and that commitment. You know, a lot of times we looking for other people, but the choice really boils down to you. And we have to, a lot of times we just have to make that choice and make that decision that, hey, I'm going to choose to overcome. I'm choose to get through it. I'm going to choose to get through it. I'm going to choose to get through this heartache. I'm going to choose to get through this disappointment. I'm going to choose to get through this letdown. I'm going to choose to get through I'm going to choose, make a choice. I'm going to make a choice to choose to get through it, despite how hard it may seem. Because the thing about it is, things may seem very hard and insurmountable, but just because they seem hard, that don't mean that they are hard. Because many times when you start, you realize, man, I could have did that years ago. Because you have to make the choice and then put action to it. You have to make that choice and put action to it, because that's the best thing you can do for yourself. That's the best thing that you can do for others, is making that choice to choose to overcome and deal with whatever you had to deal with. So, man, thank you guys so much for rocking with your boy. Make sure that you go and you check me out on all my social media platforms here, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, Twitter, all of that other stuff, man. Just look up Conversation Line 98. Make sure you go like, share, support, subscribe. Hey, I appreciate you guys, man, and I look forward to next week. You guys have a blessed and wonderful week. God bless.